Welcome to the Essence Podcast. We have a wonderful guest with us, the person of Mrs. Angela Tosan Akinwamide. She is the founder of the Ladies Healing Stream, a ministry empowering women spiritually through prayers and the teaching of the Word of God. She serves as a mentor to many and remains devoted in helping them find total wellness in Christ, as well as fulfilling their God-ordained destiny. As a music minister, Mrs. Angela Akinwamide's songs are targeted to bringing worshippers of God into the full experience of pure worship. Together, let's welcome our guest for today on the Essence Podcast, Mrs. Tosan Angela Akinwamide. So you're welcome, ma.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor having you with us today. So our topic for today is parenting. So, ma, with your wealth of experience, can you just give us an overview of what you understand by parenting?
Okay, thank you again for having me on the Essence Podcast. It's such an honor to be here.
You're welcome, ma.
On parenting, my overview of parenting is that parenting is partnership, with God in raising the next generation. That's how I see it. Such that God wants to do something on the earth space, and because he cannot come down to do it, what he does is he sends men and women into the earth, and they come in as babies, but they have a purpose. And so parenting is now partnering with God to see how you can nurture these young ones till they are old enough to fulfill that purpose for which God is sending them into the earth. So it's really partnership with God to nurturing and raising the next generation of people.
Wow. What are the parental values you were raised with and you think is missing in today's parenting?
Parental values I was raised with. I think one of the parental values I was raised with that seems to be eroding away in our culture today is the culture of discipline, or the value of discipline. And now when I say discipline, because there is such a propagation of the gentle parenting technique, which I think many people are misunderstanding. Because gentle parenting isn't saying don't discipline your children, but it's giving you a way in which, for example, when we were little, if you did something that your parents didn't like, you probably would forget a boost, before. So now gentle parenting is saying you don't need to hit a child, there are more ways to enforce discipline and to correct the child, maybe holding back what a child really loves the most, letting the child know that these are the consequences for what you have done and we are following through, but what you see today is a child messes up and people are like, don't worry, just leave them. Children of this generation, that's how they are. They don't. So there is this value of discipline that is missing, and so you now have a generation of children who are almost misbehaving everywhere they find themselves, and that's because discipline is missing, from the home. There's also this thing of just wanting to give a child everything that they need, and that we see nowadays. People would say in our time, we didn't have so much. Our parents, they were very strict. They didn't give you so much of the things. I know maybe people grew up with lack and everything, and then you come into wealth and you now feel like, the best way to raise my children is to make sure that every single thing they ask me for, that they get it. But that in itself is a problem, because if you're going to give a child every single thing they ask for, what you're teaching them is that life just answers to them anyway, anyhow. And that's not the reality of life. Because you're going to have days where you want something and it doesn't come to you. And then the child does not know how to deal with that. So you now have even more mental health issues because somebody cannot deal with delayed gratification and all of those things. So those are just two values that I think we can introduce into our parenting today and help children even be better people.
Wow. There is something that comes with fear. Like as a person personally, when I was younger, I didn't really fear God as much as I feared my parents. Yes, so there was a lot of things as a young man, a young boy rather, there was a lot of things I didn't venture into because of the fear of my parents, because I know I will receive spanking. And that's what is missing in today's parenting. A lot of children just want to give words of encouragement. I think the spanking is actually important also.
Well, I would say that when a child goes to the extreme, there are measures. But the thing is this: if you raise a child to take you seriously, only when you say, "If you do that, I'll flog you," it's training. At the end of the day, you train a child from when they are born. So, if, for example, you say to a child, "Leave that place," they don't leave. You say maybe 2 times, they don't leave. And then you pick up a cane and say, "I will flog you." At the sight of the cane, the child moves, right? The next day, they are back there. You have to pick up a cane again to say, "Meanwhile, you could have reinforced with your words." Don't. It's training. At the end, it's all training. So you train a child to take you seriously only when you pick up a cane to flog them. Meanwhile, you could also have trained them to take you seriously by the words of your mouth. When you say, "Leave there," it's firm. I mean it. Do you understand? And there's something about the developing brain of children, which I think a lot of parents are missing. While children are really, especially like 0 to 5 years, their brain is still very much developing. I think there's a research that says for those that are 5 years, their brain is only maybe 2% developed or something. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So in fact, that research was saying if you tell a 5-year-old if you give them 5 instructions, and out of the 5, they probably obey 3, your child is doing good because their brain is developing. But many of us dealing with our own issues of maybe self-esteem and insecurity, you're like, why should I give my child 5 instructions and he's doing only 3? No, you've got to do all 5. So sometimes too, as a parent, you want to look back and say, what exactly am I also dealing with? Do you know why some people beat their children in public the way they do? It's almost like, I gave you an instruction, you do obey me. You want to embarrass me. People will laugh at me.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be about people? Why isn't just you and your child's business? We are in this parenting-child relationship and we would make it work. So sometimes we really want to look at ourselves too and say, why do I feel the need to hit my child to make a point? And then I say to that same child, you are not permitted to hit somebody. It's a conflicting message. I hit you, but then I tell you can't hit somebody else. It's conflicting. If the child cannot hit somebody else, then you too.
Why are you hitting?
So raise your children to hear your voice, to listen to your voice, and to obey you when you say something. It's all training. All of it, it's training.
That's wonderful. You mentioned also regarding providing everything for your child. So this leads us to our second question, which is, how can you establish a formidable bond with your child that they can relate anything to you when, as a parent, it's okay not to give them everything they need? So how do you think you can form that bond? Will they see you as somebody they can't relate things to? Because after all, whenever they ask you of something, maybe 20% of those times you turn them down, even when they know that daddy has this, mommy can afford this. How can you now then form a bond with them?
So, forming a formidable bond with your child is not dependent on giving them everything that they ask for. Absolutely not. In fact, you are giving everything that they ask for doesn't mean that you're going to have a formidable bond.
Yeah, certain.
What brings the bond at the end of the day? It's really attention. How attentive are you when your children want to talk to you about things? For example, my 5-year-old will come from school and say, "Mommy, I want to tell you a story. Something happened in school today." And I had to find the balance too as a parent, because at first I was like, I have to listen to this child right now. Every time she comes and says, "Mommy, I want to tell you something," I really need to listen. If I don't listen to her, she's going to think I don't love her or something. But then there have been days also where I come back from work and I'm really tired. I don't have the attention span that is needed for that conversation. So I say to her, "Okay, this story you want to tell me, how about you tell me later in the evening? Mommy needs to do this, and do that." Now, I don't wait for her to come back and say that story, even though because of her personality, she will come back and say, "Mommy, remember that story I said I was telling you?" But many times, I'm also the one who goes to say, "Yes, that story you wanted to tell me. So what was it about? What happened in school today?" It's attention. So when you can listen to the stories that don't make sense for you as an adult now, what story is a 5-year-old going to tell you that really makes sense, you know? Yeah. But when you can listen to the story of the little things that happened in school, while they were playing, how this person did this, you can listen to those little stories. As they grow older, when the stories become more important, when it comes to life decisions, they can still come to you because you've built a culture that says, I'm here, I listen, I have your time. I hear you, whatever you say. Do you understand? So when my child is telling me the story, I'm responding. Oh, Feitayo did that? Really? Did your teacher see that? So she sees that I'm invested in the story. It's attention. That's what brings the formidable bond. It's not about providing everything. If you provide everything a child needs, you're going to end up raising a little brat. People who just cannot accept it when another person says no to them. And this is something we're facing. Like, people will always tell them no. It's life. It is what it is. Not everybody's at your beck and call. And you need to train your children from home to understand that the world doesn't just answer to you. Sometimes you get a no. And it's fine. It's okay to get a no. So mommy and daddy needs to say no sometimes. Do you understand? So a formidable bond is really not dependent on providing everything.
Providing things for them, but just the attention.
Attention.
And even while granting that attention, you are teaching them things about life also.
Yes, from those little stories, you pull out life values. And so you see this thing this person did, you're not supposed to do that to someone else. That's not nice. You treat people how you... Life lessons come out of those little conversations. It goes a long way.
And they know are very important too.
Yeah, very important.
So they will even learn empathy. They will learn that, okay, somebody needs rest. And they will learn how to cope with them being rejected. You
even teach your children how to read the environment. Mommy's tired now. Mommy has a slight headache. Daddy isn't feeling too well. Can we talk about this later? You start to teach them empathy from a long age. So they know that daddy loves me, but there are days when daddy might not be available to talk to me. But because my daddy is trustworthy and I can count on him, I know that he would make out that time for us to now have that conversation. It's powerful, if you ask me.
It's really powerful. Bringing us now to how do you form a good relationship with teenagers, especially when it seems like they are distanced away?
Okay, I'll just share two tips that I think would really help for those who are parenting teenagers. And with the work that we do with Purity and Purpose Project, we basically deal with teenagers at Purity and Purpose. The first thing first, every parent must recognize that as your children grow into their teenage years, they are beginning to find themselves. So they are also in a personal struggle. They are no longer children, but they are not yet adults. So there is that thing of they are learning to be adults now. So I want my space. Sometimes I want to be left alone. I don't just want people barging into my room like that so they are now learning the rudiments of adulthood, but they are not yet adults. And so they still very much need your guidance. So parents must understand that time would always come where your teenagers begin to want space. So if you're a wise parent, one of the very first things you do as your children are approaching their teenagers, you want to plug them into communities that allow them have mentors that are not you. So that's why there are great teenage programs everywhere.
Wow.
That are good, run by teenage coaches who know what they are doing. Plug your children into communities like that. That way you have put them in an environment where they are now with other teenagers who share the same values as they share, who are on the same journey as they are on. You have put them in a community that gives them access to coaches and mentors that they can talk to on the days they really don't want to talk to you. You must accept it. Your teenagers will not always want to talk to you. The problem many parents have is, talk to me. I am your mommy. I'm the one that gave birth to you. But sometimes they don't want to talk to you, and that's fine. But intentionally put them in the places where when they turn to talk to someone else, you have provided the people that they should talk to, even though they didn't know that's what you were doing. But you as a mom, as a dad, this is that's why I put my child here. When they turn to talk to a coach, it's going to be you. It's going to be you. And I know you will provide the right counsel because I know you. Do you understand? And the second thing I want to talk about with distance is, if you didn't give a child who is 4 years, 3 years attention, What makes you think they would now want your attention when they are 13, 14? Something you didn't provide in their formative years, you suddenly you just think that now they should come to you. No, it doesn't work like that. So you've got to have provided all of that. You've got to have, it's just like we were saying, when your 5-year-old comes and says, I want to tell you a story, give the attention, listen, so that when she's 18 and needs to make a sound life decision, she knows that her mom will give counsel. So even while you have provided mentors and coaches, you have put them in an environment that allows them to talk to other people that are trustworthy, that will guide them in the right path. You as a parent have also provided that leverage and open door that says, I'm here for you any day, anytime. You can talk to mommy. You can talk to daddy. We're here. We'll listen. We will provide guidance because we really love you. It's spoken, it's acted. You see it. You hear it, mommy, daddy, they're available. Do you understand?
And surely that time will come.
It will come. It will. It will always come. And if you provided that access, even when they now start to talk to their coaches or something, or the mentors in the groups you put them in, even when they start to talk to other teenagers, they will always come back home. Always.
Wow.
The children will always come to you.
That's really a very wonderful, practical. But Ma, you mentioned community. So, do you have any community in mind that you'd like to recommend
absolutely.
to our viewers?
Okay, so viewers can check Coach Ebuka. He does for teenage boys on Instagram, Facebook. I mean, check him out. So, what he does is, and maybe we can provide a link in the description of this video so people can easily click. And then there's Auntie Etima, who runs a coaching program for teenage girls. Both of them I highly recommend. And then there's what's his name? I think it's Solomon Ayodele, who runs the boys' quarters. It's an NGO also that does boy things. There's also Raquel Daniels. Raquel she's a teens coach because, what she does with schools beyond the school classroom. Even though she doesn't come across as having a coaching program for teenagers, but that's definitely someone that if a teenager follows, they would have a lot of wisdom. I could also recommend John Obidi. He's not a teens coach, but if you expose your children to someone who shares valuable insight about life, they learn, they catch up, they know how they should position themselves. And I think that especially parents who are Christians should also take advantage of teens church. Many churches have programs they do for teenagers. Take advantage of it. Allow your children be a part of what's going on in the church community. When teenagers see other teenagers on fire for Christ, it has a way of igniting their hearts. Don't keep your children away from what's going on in church because you are uninterested. You now also dampen the fire that God is setting up in their hearts.
Thank you very much for that, man. Then you mentioned also that you can't just suddenly come when your children are 13, 14. I want to give that attention that you didn't give to them when they were 3, 4, 5. So I believe some of our viewers might be parents that missed it, that didn't give that attention. So what do you think can be the solution to that? What can they do now that their children are 14?
You double up. I'm telling you. You double up to catch up on lost times. Honestly, life is a lot easier if we follow the process. There was something I read somewhere very recently. I think it was on Facebook, and the person was making a reference to Dora Akunyili's daughter, the book she wrote and published. And in the book, it was said that, disclaimer, I haven't read the book, but this is somebody's excerpt from reading the book. And she said Dora Akunyili mentioned that their mom really didn't have time for them as children. She was busy doing a lot of stuff because we know her great woman before she passed on. And it was when the children were adults that she was now trying to bond and to catch up. And I don't know how much of that lost time she was able to gain before passing on. So my point is this: it's always better that we do things when they should be done. But for those who have missed it, there is hope. There is hope. Just start to double up, start to give the attention now, start to create the time. Don't say to your teenager, for example, that we're going to hang out by 6, maybe, okay, I'll take you to a nice restaurant where we can hang out and talk by 6 p.m. and then you start coming back home by 8 p.m. with excuses. It just makes the child feel like, well, I'm still not your priority. Even now that you're trying to make, I'm still not. Yeah. It's still your work and everything that is, so double up, start to keep your promises, start to give attention where attention is needed, keep your eyes open, show up at their school games, show up at the things that they do, find out so this is now, you now have to start asking what are the things you're interested in, how can I support you as mommy, how can daddy support, so you have to double up, you do the work you didn't do before, plus the one you should be doing now.
Wow. That'll be so much work. So it's better to just get it right from the beginning. It's better to get it right. Wow. Okay, still to teenagers now. How do you think you can discipline or correct teenagers when they are especially treading the wrong path or worldly path? You are a Christian now, and your child seems to be moving with the wrong group of people. You tried your best, right from when the child was young, was there. So what is the best way, or what are the best ways you think such child can be disciplined or rightfully corrected?
Okay. In answering that question, I mean, sometimes, and you did say a bit to this, sometimes the first question I want to ask is, as a parent, did you do what you were supposed to do while they were children? I think it was Benson Hidausa. I think this, what I'm about to say is accredited to Benson Hidausa, I think. They said, don't discipline a person when you have not taught him what he should know. So you haven't taught this thing. The person makes a mistake, and then you start to say you want to carry out disciplinary measures.
There's no
Did you teach it?
And there's no law.
Yeah, thank you. Do you understand? So before we even talk about discipline of teenagers, did you teach what you were supposed to teach? Did you teach it in a way that your child could imbibe the lessons? And sometimes what some of us call teaching of children and nurturing, turn off the TV, go and sit down, you're not teaching.
Just being strict.
No, you're just backing out orders.
Maybe unnecessarily.
Yeah, that's not teaching. Teaching is being able to help somebody understand something. If a person has not understood it, you have not taught it.
Wow.
So before we talk about discipline, let's do our work first. Because sometimes people say teenagers are difficult, they're difficult. But from the work we do with purity and purpose, you find out that teenagers are not exactly difficult.
True.
Yeah, they are trying to find themselves. They're in a season of their lives. And we must recognize that as parents. This is a season. It's tough for the child as it is tough for you. They are trying to find themselves. They're almost like they're torn between two worlds, So before you start to say, I want to do this, teach first from childhood. So that when they get to these teenage years where they have to begin to now make decisions on how their life should go, they can fall back to the things you had taught, And then for a parent who says, I did everything I should do, I did it very rightly, but still my child is touring the wrong path. The questions to ask is the why. While you were teaching, was your child mingling with people who were pouring down on what you were teaching? Were there other adults around you as the parent who, when you gave an order, when you taught something, will now say to your child, don't mind your mommy, Jare, your mommy doesn't even know what she's talking about. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The power of environment when we are raising our children, many of us, we don't understand it. So it's not just giving out orders, not just saying, in this house we must do this, we must do that, you must do that. Help your children understand the why. That way, even when you close your eyes, they will be doing the right thing, And then if you have a child who is going the wrong path because of maybe external influences, is it possible to cut out those influences? Is there a way you can stop them from those friends or whatever it is that is pushing them into the wrong path? That's number one. Cutting out the influence wherever it is coming from. Number two, again, I always say the power of prayer in the things we do.
Yeah.
You can do everything so right and forget that the world is highly spiritual. and that somebody can be somewhere and make an enchantment against your child, and then the child's destiny just turns into something else because you were doing everything right, but you didn't remember that there are spiritual fortification that should be done over the life of your child.
Very important.
So if you've done everything, maybe it's time to now heighten your prayers and spiritual things that should put your child in check.
Wow, that's very powerful, man. But there's something called being sensitive and being overprotective. It's a very thin line. So at what point, you as a parent trying to be there for your children, at what point do you need to understand that you are not being overprotective? Because teenagers sees these things and they get defensive. They don't want it. They are trying to find their life. They are trying to understand things. They are trying to get clarity. So at what point do you think a parent should understand that he or she is being too sensitive and it's becoming as though you are being overprotective?
The interesting thing is, do you know that overprotectiveness comes from the place of fear? When you feel like, if I take my eyes off my child, something is going to happen to them. It's fear. Fear is the driver of overprotectiveness. When you find parents who cannot let a teenager go for a church teenage camp meeting for 4 days, say, this is my child, I can't let him out of my sight. Hey, this now that they are kidnapping everybody like this.
Yeah.
But we must raise children who are ready to take on the world. So if you cannot release your child for 4 days to a church program where you know the pastor, you know the teenagers counselors, you know all the other teenagers that are going, you know everything about the meeting, you know where they are going, you know how they are sleeping, waking up, yet you cannot let your child go. How would that child take over the world now when the child is now in their 20s?
That's not even training.
It's not. So how you know that you are being overprotected? If you find yourself being very fearful about letting your children go to the places that they should go. Do you understand? There are parents who will not let their children go on excursion of any kind, even when they know that the school has done due diligence, protective measures are in place. They are not going anywhere.
Those kind of children are even missing out, and they won't even like that kind of parents.
So you make those children miss out on life experiences that could have formed them. I'm not saying be careless as a parent, no, but you must be willing to take your hands off sometimes. So long as you've asked the necessary questions, you know where they are going, who they are going to be with, who is the adult that's going to be there to oversee. You can, So overprotectiveness at the end of the day really kills your child's destiny. It doesn't, and then being sensitive as a parent is being aware of what your child is going through in the moment. I'll give a very vivid example. Your child is usually the lively type, right? And then you come back from work and notice that your child is overly quiet. Something should be saying to you that this is not normal with this child. It's unusual. Something is wrong. That's sensitivity as a parent. It's not being paranoid or fearful. That's sensitivity. Something is going on with this child. She doesn't dress like this, but she's dressed like this today. Something is going on. Is this external influence? What's going on here? And then conversations.
Is she having a boy in her life?
Yes, who is telling her to dress like this? So it's sensitivity. Every parent must be sensitive. Well, you will not be sensitive if you're not paying attention in the first place, because you won't even know when things are changing, when things are shifting. You have no idea now. You don't have time. So there's a difference between being sensitive, being overprotective. Completely different.
Wow. So, Ma, at what point do you think a parent should be a mentor, a friend, a confidant, and a strict parent to their children?
Well, from my perspective, you begin first as, what you've called a strict parent, where you have the boundaries in place. And this is when children are really young. Their formative years. This is like 0 to, maybe some people say 0 to 3, some people say 0 to 5, But these are the formative years. in those formative years, you want to be strict with the boundaries. That's where you're letting your toddler know you can't hit your brother. It's a rule in the house. So when they hit, you're correcting them. You're saying, no, you can't do that. You cannot hit your sister. Something is going on, report to mommy. Talk to daddy. You are now teaching the boundaries.
Yeah.
It's almost like running a boot camp. At those formative years, there is time to sleep.
It's regimented.
In this house, once it is 7 p.m., all devices go off. 8 p.m., you must be on your bed. Whether you're feeling sleepy or not, go and lie down. Routine.
Yeah.
6 a.m. or 5:30, depending on what works for the family, everybody is up. You have our morning prayers, routine, boundaries, you're teaching. These are the rules. Here we don't use swear words. You can't insult your brother. You can't say.
Yeah.
So you're being strict. When you see that they are moving the boundaries a little, you put it back. It's not allowed here. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That's why, by the time you have boundaries, routines, the problem is many families run without boundaries. They run without routines. A child, for example, I was in a salon one day, and these women who met in the salon were discussing. One of them started talking about how her son would refuse to go to bed, and sometimes it's like 1 a.m. that he goes to sleep, and is a child going to school the next day. And the others were saying, even me, my son. And I sat in that salon saying, what are you people doing? And then when that child becomes 15, you want them to listen to your instructions. When at 8, at 7, the child is determining his own bedtime.
Yeah.
What are we doing? So those formative years are the years of strict boundaries, routines. Run it like you're running a boot camp. The older they get, the easier it is for you to relax. Because at that point, they have learned the boundaries so much. They know that this is unaccepted, this is accepted. We can't do this here. And even when their friends come, they'll be the ones telling their friends, I know in our house we don't on TV once it's 7 p.m. Oh no, in our house we don't do this. They will be telling them. And I've seen this play out even with my little children. They'll tell my neighbor's child, oh no, we don't do that. We can't do that here. No, in our house we don't. I'm telling you. And then by the time they grow older, you now move into, especially for like teenagers and all, you want to now also become like a mentor. I understand what you're going through. How about you do this like this? You also are helping them to think through life. The problem is, for teenage years, many parents want to say, do it like this, move like that, that's how I want it done. But sometimes you want to engage, especially with this day and age children, you want to engage in conversations. Okay, this thing you're about to do like this, have you thought about it? What are the consequences of doing it like this? What's the advantage to you? Now, if you do it like this, what do you think would happen? Allow your child think. Allow their brain work. Yeah. Allow them breathe. And then you move from there to becoming friends. As they become adults, they become friends. As an adult now, I'm gisting with my mom. We weren't gisting like that when I was a child. But now we are gisting. Because now I'm an adult, I have my own children. So we're gisting now, we're gisting things. Even before I got married, we were gisting. Do you understand? So you now move to that point where you're like friends, But even at that point, because you've raised a solid child, they still give you the honor of a parent. Even when they are gisting and laughing with you, they still honor you so much as a parent. And then as a confidant, they can tell you things they can't tell anybody else because you were there from the beginning. You were there. These things don't happen. It's not magic. It falls line by line. What you do yesterday determines what you get from the child today. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
True. Okay. About girl child now. At what stage in the life of a girl child in these times do you think is okay to be in a relationship, to have a boyfriend? Is it age based, or is there another criteria to judge that?
It's not age based. Okay. And I want to say that very clearly. It's not age based. Sometimes you meet a 30-year-old that should have nothing to do with a boyfriend because she's displaying a wide range of emotional immaturity and all of those. So you just know that, come, madam, you're 30, but you need to put yourself together. If a man comes into this mess, it's going to be bad for the both of you. So it's not age-based, but at the same time, like I said to the girls in the Purity and Purpose project, if you are not ready to get married, what do you want to do with a boyfriend? Why do you need an exclusive relationship with a man? So every time teenagers ask me, is it a crime to have a boyfriend? No, it's not a crime. But you must use your head to think, why do I want a boyfriend? Is it important? You're in SS1, why do you need a boyfriend? What do you want to use him for? So you find out that at that stage, the only reason why you want a boyfriend because you think it's going to make you feel woke.
Yeah.
It puts you into the clique of the big girls in your school. But that's nonsense because you've got your academics in front of you. You've not even written WAEC. So what are you doing with your boyfriend? So sometimes to helping the teenagers understand that you don't need this now. The pressure you feel is because you're looking at that person, you're looking at this person. You don't need this now. You get into a university, okay, what about those in university? I mean, you get into a university, and this is why many people end up having multiple relationships before they eventually are ready for marriage. You've dated like 10 people. You've gone through 10 heartbreaks. Something you could have saved yourself the stress of. You're a fresher in school. You don't even understand how the school system works. You already have a boyfriend. What are you doing with the boyfriend? When the reason why you are here, you have not even found your footing. It's a distraction. So it's never age-based. It's maturity. And then what does the woman have going for her at that time? And we must teach our girls that life is bigger than having boys, a boyfriend, or life is bigger. It's bigger than marriage. What's your purpose? What are you doing to fulfill your assignment in life? What's burning in your heart? So boyfriend should not come and overshadow those things. And then you start dealing with emotional baggages that you didn't have to deal with if you had the wisdom enough to know that I'm not ready for this now, so there's no point.
Okay. So, Ma, you are the convener of Purity and Purpose. So how does Purity and Purpose relate to parenting? Now, understand that you are an external influence on these young girls, these young ladies. But talking to parents now, how would you relate Purity and Purpose to them so they can start enacting things like this, even with their children at home?
Every time we go to the secondary schools, one of the things I find is the work is not being done at home as it should be done. And so it's more work for those of us who are coming from the outside to speak to these children. But it really begins at home. It does. The home is the first place where you want to let your children know that there's a purpose for their lives and they are not an accident. Even if you were not planning to have any more children and that child showed up and you now had the child, you've got to let the child understand there's a purpose for your life. It should begin from the home. It's so interesting. If parents do their work well, a parent can, by the help of God, tell that this is what my child should be in the future and begin to now fall in line to play the role that allows the child to be that thing that they were ordained to be by God. And we see this example in scriptures where God will say to parents, look at Samson's parents, for example. God had told them what would become of Samson. Mary, God said to her, you would have, his name will be Jesus. He will save the world from their sin. So if we liaise with God, Rebecca, God said to her, 2 nations are in your womb. The younger will serve the older. This and that would happen. So if we liaise if we spend enough time with the giver of the children, we would know their destinies even before they get here. So a lot of children are walking around without purpose, having no idea what they want to do with their lives. And that's because their parents don't even have ideas what they should do. So it begins from the home. That's and then powerful. On purity, we are in such a morally decaying world today. But it is also in the home front that you begin to herald the values of purity. For example, a girl is growing up in the house and then maybe her mom says to her something like, you, make sure you marry on time. Look at that, your auntie now that's not married. What are you telling the child? You are telling the child that just whether you fulfill purpose or not, just marry and enter a man's house. But that's not the message. That's not the right thing. So the message of purity, when you put your girl child under so much pressure as regards marriage and everything, how do you expect purity from them? You're not heralding purity now. What you're heralding is catch a man anyhow.
Yeah.
So it begins from the home. We must be careful the values we are preaching to our children. Preach the values of purity, and they will take it out. They will take it from there. It always should begin from the house.
Wow, that was a powerful one. And lastly, this person sent this message, and I think this person needs an answer to this. That is there a point where a parent gets to and they start to hate their child? The parent starts to regret even having this child. This parent now can be married or single, but is there a point that it gets to that a parent starts to hate the child? And if it is a yes, what do you think what advice do you have to give to that parent or that child?
Well, I do believe that there's a point a parent can get to and hate their own children. We've seen this many times. But there are scenarios that play in the background of that. It doesn't just happen. No parent just wakes up and I hate my child. No, it doesn't just happen. I'll give you several scenarios several reasons that can birth that hatred. For example, one time, a lady who had just had a child was talking to me and she was struggling to love the baby she just had. This is a less than a 1-month-old baby. So apparently this child has done nothing but be a baby, a newborn. And she said to me, I don't understand it. I can't seem to love this child. But I did understand where she was coming from. The pregnancy was traumatizing. She had a lot of health issues, this, that. Many things happened to her while carrying that child. So when the child eventually was brought out of her, it was almost like, so all this wahala is you. Then the sleepless nights you had to now deal with, not getting enough help. So sometimes there are situations that can, and of course for her, what we had to do was now start to affirm that you love your child, because you really do. On the inside, you really do. It's just that the situations she had gone through were now overshadowing the love, and it's almost, I wouldn't use the word hate at that time, but that love was being overshadowed, and she was getting to that point where she was like, what is this? Why am I being stressed because of, and then we had to say, go get help. Your mom, auntie, somebody has to come to relieve you of the burden,
stress.
The stress of this season. Like somebody said, a lot of women go through mental breakdown when they have children because the culture of Omugo, 3 months, it's been eroded. These days, many women give birth and they are on their own with their older children and the newborn baby. So they have to cook for these ones while breastfeeding this one through the night, bathe this baby. That woman is going to have a mental breakdown. And then she's going to wake up one day, look at all her children and be like, I hate you people. You are... So that's one. A situation where there is no help. The woman is overly stressed and she looks at the child as the source of the stress. Can birth hatred. The solution for that, go and get help.
Yeah.
Get somebody who can come and help you with the house chores and everything. Don't go and die. Do you understand? The second thing, if a marriage is in crisis and they have a child together, and then maybe the woman begins to really hate her husband, and she looks at the child who is a product of that union, she can start to hate the child because this thing that you are a product of this thing that is causing me so much headache and pain. And that's why some women would, in front of their child, they would wash down the child's father and then turn to the child and be like, you are just like your father, you are just useless like him. It's the hatred for the husband or the wife that is being transferred to the child. The other scenario, maybe she has an adult child or he has an adult child whom they've tried to nurture in the right way but keeps going on with the wrong crowd, bad friends, and the child just keeps getting into one trouble or the other, just stressing the lives of the parent. Parent can look at the child and say, I regret ever having you. They are just a source of pain. So a person who is dealing with hatred for children, for their own child, is the first question to ask is, why am I beginning to hate this child? Because it's not natural. The natural thing is love. So if you're now hating your child, you want to ask yourself the hard question. Why am I hating this child? Why is this happening now? What's the underlying story? What's going on? And then when you can figure out what's going on, if it's that there's a marital crisis, but you're extending it to the child. If it's that the child is misbehaving and so it's increasing your headache and everything, and now it's becoming hatred. Or if it's that you're so stressed by the fact, then the underlying reason is what will determine the next course of action. But definitely do speak to a counselor, do speak to somebody. Don't because sometimes if you're not careful, that feeling of hatred is not just going to go away like that. It's interesting how the devil can find a foothold and just build a mansion there. The devil would see that hatred and be like, let's work with this thing and destroy this family. Let's destroy this child and destroy this parent. So you don't want the devil to take advantage of that. You need to go get help quickly.
Quick help.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much. Okay, for the child, an adult child or a teenage child that sees that his or her parent is hating on them, what advice do you have for that child?
Wow. I mean, for an adult child or a teenage child, it means you're already at the stage where you can hold conversations with your parents. You want to, if there is need for external help, reach out to somebody that you can talk to and let them know, and there are many teenagers who feel this way. I feel like my mom hates me. I feel like, and sometimes when you now sit down with those teenagers and they not tell you why, you're like, your mom doesn't hate you. Your mom doesn't, you now start to even help them understand what the mom is trying to do. So for adult children, teenagers, conversations really help to clarify, what's going on with that situation. It's always go and have a conversation. Know why. And sometimes you just find out that the mom does not even hate. The mom will be like, I don't hate you. I was just being stressed at work. Yeah. So, conversations. Okay. And with children, as parents, we must communicate it. If you love your child, tell them, see, I love you. Many children don't hear it. So they don't know whether they are loved by their parents or not. They just know that daddy is scolding them, mom is shouting, and then their parents say, but I love them. But you're not telling them. You're not telling them you love them. And then you're not speaking their love language. If your child likes gifts, when was the last time you bought a gift? If your child likes acts of service, when was the last time? Do you even know your children's love language? Let's even start from there. Do you understand?
Especially in Nigeria.
But we can learn it. Everybody has a love language. And it doesn't only apply to marriage. It applies to children. Some children love gifts. At the sight of a gift, they're like, oh my world. That kind of child, make it, even if it's every 3 months, bring something nice home. Even if you can afford every month, bring something good. Say, oh, mommy got you a gift. Mommy speaking my love language. There are children who want quality time. I just want mommy to sit. I just want to sit beside mommy, even if we are not talking. Then the child will now come and put her, my friend, remove your head from here, Jerry. But some of them, physical touch. Children just want to touch their mommy's hand. They're like, whoa, what's wrong with you? So you must understand, what's your child's love language? What is it? And speak it. Speak it periodically and say it with your mouth. This, I love you. Your child is going to bed, especially for really young children. Because many of us didn't grow up with parents who hug, who give you pecks. I mean, this is Nigeria. Many parents didn't have time for that. But we can learn it. Especially when they are really young. When you start it when they are young, as they get older, it becomes easier. As your 2 years old is going to bed, in my house now, when my children are going to bed, hug, everybody hugs, everybody hugs. I love you, good night. No, I didn't grow up like that. Nobody was giving me hug. There was a prayer at night. They pray over you, bless you, cover you, go and sleep.
And that's their own
which
form
is very
of love.
important. That's their form of love. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So now I go the extra mile. I pray, I cover my children because the spiritual is a real thing. But I also hug. I tell them I love you. So you go to bed with my voice in your head. Mommy loves me. You go to bed with daddy's voice in your head. Daddy loves me. Do you understand?
Yeah.
There's nothing that would ever happen to that kind of child that will make them say daddy hates me. No. Because on a daily basis, I'm communicating that you are dearly loved by me. I love to be your mother. It is such an honor. That's how I see it, though. It's such an honor to be the mom of the children I'm raising. It is, I'm not joking. This is such a rare privilege. No other person in this world has my children. We're all unique. So I'm raising 2 children that nobody else is raising. That's such a unique, it's something huge for me. I see it as, it is, I love it. I'm excited to be their mom. And I let them know I love you. Doesn't mean I will not discipline you. Absolutely, I will. But then,
sure.
Love covers it all.
Wow, this is wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's nice having you. Ma, you give a few seconds overall of what we'll be saying. You'll be speaking to parents out there.
Okay.
Yes, and you can tell them about your books and how they can, the manual for the rehab and stuff.
Definitely. All right. So we've been talking parenting with on the Essence podcast, and I think I'll just go back to the last thing I said. You're the best mom for your children. You're the best dad for your children. Nobody else can do a better job than you can. If God felt like there was somebody else who could raise your children better than you, he would have given those children to that person. But then he looked on the earth space and felt like this couple or this, depending on what your situation is, he felt like this couple would be the best for these children, and he handed them over to you. So you're the best. And parenting can be really tough sometimes. Sometimes you go the whole 9 yards and it's like these children just don't get it. Keep going on. We don't relent because, my child did something that I don't like and therefore I stop loving them. No. We keep going on. You're going to have days where your children are just going to do stuff that would hurt you, and that's because they are human. There is no human being without flaws. We don't have perfect people, and so we can't expect our children to be all perfect for us. So on those days when they hurt you, make you angry, just remember that they're as human as you are with their flaws and weaknesses, and keep loving them. Keep going on this journey. At the end of the day, it's going to pay off by God's grace. And as for my books, The Still Waters, it's a book for nursing mothers. So you're nursing children and struggling with your spirituality, Still Waters definitely is your go-to. There's also the Still Waters prayers that happens on my Facebook Live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. where we're really praying for children. Like I said, we can't do all of these things and overlook the spiritual side of things. The spirituality of our lives is really what holds every other thing together. And then there's the Redemption of Rehab book. So if you have children who are struggling with sexual purity, definitely get them the Redemption of Rehab. It would really, really, really help them. And then there are a host of other books. So by the time you get on my there's a Purity and Purpose devotional also for teenagers, helping them on their sexual purity work. And then there are a host of other books lined up to come up in a few months. They'll be published in a few months, still for children, teenagers. Basically, we're dealing with young adults in this season. So lots of the materials that I'm releasing in this season is to help young adults. So.
Thank you so much, ma. Once again, it's nice having you.
Thank you for having me.
It's
such a privilege.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you.